With more than half of all London boroughs affected by gang violence, this week we're looking at some of the personal stories of those trying to turn their lives around. Tonight we hear from Kenny Mafidon, a former gang member, about how seeing his friends jailed for murder convinced him to go back to college to study law. Our special correspondent Kurt Barling has been speaking to him.
The murder of Kwame Ofusu-Asare in 2011 was the result of tit-for-tat gang violence gone wrong. Kwame was a victim of mistaken identity. That type of gangland violence put Kenny Mafidon on remand for 6 months, charged with another teenager's murder.
Halfway during the trial, I was acquitted by directions of the judge, and one of my friends got found guilty and he received a minimum of 30 years life in prison. And that really changed my outlook on life in the sense that that could easily be me.
On his release, Kenny was identified by Southwark's gang intervention team as suitable for an immediate relocation out of South London. It was the start of his rehabilitation.
I think we do know what the answers are. We do know that if you go out into people's homes and you put yourself out and you do home visits and you link people into services and you provide mentoring and you provide meaningful employment, you can move people on and supporting them into housing. Actually, we can make a massive difference. It's not an issue for the police or for the councils or for health. It's an issue for everybody.
Building on good A-level results, Kenny was invited to compile a report on the experiences of young people who drift into gangs. The Kenny report describes a pattern of exclusion, which is fed, he believes, by a lack of attention to individual young offenders' needs.
Everybody needs different help, and some people need help longer than others, so 12-week programs are not long enough. You need to treat people according to their need, and that is what's not happening.
The review's focus on delivery of mental health treatment has, for example, refined attitudes towards how the criminal justice system deals with young offenders.
An example recently that we worked with was a young man who got shot, and not only was he dealing with the trauma of that, he was dealing with the shame of not being able to cope with being shot. And that's something that we see a lot of young people experiencing shame that they're not able to cope in a gang environment.
I think it's the trauma stopping a lot of young people from making the right choices, because when the trauma, remember, this is a mental thing, this is the fact that they believe this is the only thing they can do. They're very aware of the risk of either being dead or in prison.
Those who are supporting Kenny's transition say he's an example of what is being achieved with a changing emphasis in dealing with gangs, where enforcement is seen as a blunt instrument for all but the most dangerous individuals.
What isn't working is taking youngsters who committed grave crimes out of the community, putting them in what are effectively jails, and just leaving them there to stew. We don't have enough people or projects who are out there in the community making contact with these youngsters who are on the periphery and intervening early. And that intervention might be simply to get them back into school, get them back into training.
The Home Office has decided that the review for the past year has led to a greater understanding of what works and how gang intervention work still needs concerted effort to improve joined-up thinking. The review will now run to 2014.
I think at a ministerial level, they get it. They still don't have a grip on the systems that will allow for that to play out on the ground. And that's, I think, where their major challenge will be.
Tackling gangs and gang violence London-wide needs better joined-up work between existing services for young people. The review has found that getting to those involved before they end up trapped in the criminal justice system can prevent a permanent slide into gang life. Kurt Barling, BBC London News.
Sport.